Uh-oh. All right, here we go. Let's make this painless. How do I make this bigger? Oops, way too big. Right, a little better. Okay, so without further ado, let's make this quick. So here we can work on this. I put a circle. That's just 1 2/3. So I'm going to rewrite the fraction 1 plus 1 over, and that's 1 2/3, right? And 1 2/3, we can change it to an improper fraction. It becomes 5/3, right? So I changed this little guy here, better circle, into 5/3. Now I got to divide 1 divided by 5/3, right? So if you, and again, I'm going to rewrite it. 1 stays, that 1 stays, and then I'm going to take care, I'll highlight this, with this guy here. If I do 1 divided by 5/3, that's the same thing as 1 times 3/5, so it becomes 3/5. So this became this, which now becomes this. I'm going to rewrite it again, step by step. And then 1 plus 3/5 is just 1 3/5. Again, take it again, and I'm going to write 8/5, right? Because it's 5 times 1 plus 3, and that becomes 8/5. And now we have simply 1 divided by 8/5, which is the same thing as 1 times 5/8, and that's my final answer. Okay, so in steps, right? We have, that's 1,500,000 people, 76% of that. So we're going to multiply that by, if you want to write it as a decimal, that's okay. Write it as a fraction, right? So 76 out of 1, 76% of this number here are registered voters. So not everybody can vote, 76% of that. And then of that, 42. So if you take this, right, and if you want to put in parentheses, right, so you're going to multiply that and then multiply that by 42. And out of the registered voters, 76% of that population, 42% of them voted. So you're going to multiply that. So you're going to multiply these two and then times 42 over 100. And then finally, you're going to take and multiply that by 53 over 100. So, I mean, the parentheses are not necessary because it's being multiplied. So let me just rewrite it. And I'm going to take that because we can do some simplifying. Well, we can take these 2 zeros and take 2 zeros from here, 2 zeros from here. All right, and then we can take, well, you can go 100 and 150 and make it 1.5 if you like. Right, so if you simplify, so now you're left with 1.5 times 76 times 42 times 53, and that's what you would multiply. And I guess I'm gonna have to do it. So let's just do 70. Let's multiply these three. So 76 times 42. That's 12, 14, 152, and that's what do you call? Sorry, 24, 30. We get 2913, and then we're going to multiply that by 53. And then we get 6, 27, 5, and 9, and then we're going to get 10, 45, 46, go 4, 9, and then 15. So if my math is not incorrect, 11 goes 1, 19, 6, and 9. So we're left with 169,176 when I multiply these three numbers. And I can multiply that by 1.5. And running out of room will allow me to erase this. So hopefully you're doing this neater than I am. And we're going to multiply that by 1.5. And that's going to give us the number of votes that the mayor received. So 30, 38, 8, 45, 34, and 8, right? And then it's 6, 7, 1, 9, 1, 6. I'm going to add that. 0, 14, 16, 8, 13, 15, and 2. So one decimal over. So the number of people that voted for the mayor was 253,864. Okay. Find 6. Now 5 over 12, you would have to divide. So I would change that. First of all, let's find out what 5 over 12 is. 0. 12 goes into 54 times, which is 48. 2 left over, bring another 0 down. 12 goes into 21 times, which is 12. 8 left over, bring another 0 down. 12 goes into 86 times, which is 72. We have 8. So that's going to be a very ugly decimal. Let's see if I can just verify that. Yeah, it's going to be repeating decimal. So we're going to take that and stop right here. So it's going to be, so that becomes 6.416. Or if we round to nearest hundredth, 6.4. So this is what that looks like, right? Forever and ever. So this is what that number becomes. So if we round to the nearest hundredth, 6.42, right? It's not going to be perfect, times 720. That's what, sorry. Right, percent times 720. We move the decimal 2 to the left, 1, 2, and that's going to be 0.0642 of, which means multiplying 720. That's what you would have to multiply. So 720 times 0.0642. That's 0.414, and then 0.828, and then we're going to do 0, 12, and 43. 0, 4, 12, carry 1, 12, carry 1, 6, 4. We have 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 decimal places. 46.22, 222 approximately. Okay, that kind of makes sense, right? Because 10% is 72. So 60, sorry, so 6 and 6.42%. It's a little bit more than half, so that's okay. Express the product as a decimal. Okay, so let's see if we can make that a little easier. If I write it as a fraction first, times 48 over 10, times 25 over 1,000, times 16 over 10. So, although they did ask for a decimal, I'm writing it as a fraction. See if I can simplify. And there's a lot of simplifying that I can do. So let's change colors here. Let's divide this by 5, which gives me 2. Divide this by 5 gives me 5. Right? I've simplified those two. And I'm going to simplify 5 and 10. Divide by 5 is 1. Divide by 5 is 2. Divide by 2 is 1. Divide by 2 is 8. Right? I can do that. 1,000 divided by 8 is 125. Yep. So 8 divided by 8 is 1. And 1,000 divided by 8 is 125. And then notice that I can cross out this 125 with this 125. So definitely put a 1 here and a 1 here. And on the top, I'm left with 48 and 100. So if I divide, let's see, this by 2, I get 24. This by 2, I get 500. And I simplify that again, I get 12, I get 250. If I divide by 2 again, I get 6, I get 125. I can divide by 3. No, I can't divide by 3 because this is 8. It looks like that might be my final answer. No, I have a 2 over here, so this 2 divided by 2 is 1, and 6 divided by 2 is 3. And then on top, I can't simplify anything else because I have 1, 3, 1, 1, and at the bottom I have 125, 1, and 1. So I have 3 over 125. And this, it's much easier to change into a decimal. So 3 divided by 125. Well, obviously it doesn't go in. So there's not a 0 here. This is going to be a 1. So 125 goes into 300 one time. We're going to have 175 left over. So it's up to 5. That's 175 left over. Bring 0 down. 1,750 divided by 125 is going to be, oops, so I made a mistake here. 125 goes into 300 2 times. Apologies. It's 250. 50 left over. Let's bring this guy down. right? And 125 goes into 125 goes into 500 4 times. So that's going to be 500, and my final answer is 0.024. A little bit of work, but notice that changing into a fraction made my life so much easier, right? So much easier. 4-man relay team races, ran a race in 3 1/5 of an hour. What was the average running time for each man? Given our answer in minutes. So they want the answer in minutes. 1/5, so 3 hours. Let's change that to 3 hours is 180 minutes. 1/5 of an hour. Right, so if you take 60 and divide it by 5, it's 12 minutes, right? 1/5. So the total here would be 192. And that we can divide by 4, because that's what we want. 192 divided by 4. That would be 4. 4 and 4 is 16. 3 left over. Bring the 2 down. 4 into 32 is 8. So each man ran for 48 minutes average. Okay. We sort of did this class. So we have a rectangular shape playground, and they say that if you multiply the length times the width, the area is 240 and 3/4 feet squared. The width, we'll call this the width, not change colors, is 40 and a half. They're asking you for the length. So you can do area equals length times width. The area is given to us, which is 240. And again, if you want to change that to a decimal, you may. I am going to leave it as a fraction. It's really a choice. And then the length I don't know, and the width is 40 and a half. So to isolate L, we're going to divide both sides by 40 and a half, right? Remember how, right? We're going to divide. That goes away, and the length is whatever this is, 240 and 3/4 divided by 40 and a half. So notice that this whole thing is about operations with more than integers this time around, but fractions and decimals. So you have to practice your division. So we have 240, let me write it over here, and 3/4 divided by 40 and a half. I'm wondering if it's easier to do it via decimals. Let's keep it as a fraction. So 240 times 4, I'll do it over here since we can't use a calculator, times 4. That's a 0, that's a 16, carry 1, that's 963 over 4, divided by 2 times 40 is 80, 81 over 2. We're going to now change that to a multiplication, 963 over 4 times 2 over 81. That can be simplified. Let me change colors. Remember, simplify after you change it to multiplication, not before. So 2 and 4 get simplified. Yeah, both can be divided by 9. Can they both divide this by 9? 81 divided by 9 is 9. 963 divided by 9 is 107. And is 107 divisible by 9? Doesn't look like it is. 107 divided by 9. No, it's not. So we're going to get on top 107, and at the bottom 18, which you will change to, depending on your answer, change it to an improper fraction. So how many times can 18 go to 107? Okay, so we're going to take that. Let me just get some room here. So this is why you can't do this on this sheet, because there's just not enough room. So 107 divided by 18. You want to change that to an improper fraction. What is that? 648. No, so it's going to be 5. 5 and 8 is 40. Carry 4. That's going to be 90. So we're going to have 17 left over. So it's going to be 5, 17 over 18 feet. And that's what this length is. 5, 17 over 18. Okay. Again, more of that problem there. The pumpkin weighed, apparently that's from what I remember writing this problem. It's actually a true story. So 2,222. She wants the pumpkin to break the record, last year's record, by one and one third times as much, and then she's going to use 3/5 of the new weight, all right, of this year's pumpkin. You're going to use 3/5 of that to make pie. It's going to be a large pie. So basically, this is what you have: times 1 1/3, and then times, you're going to take that, right, whatever that equals to, and you're going to multiply. You're going to take 3/5 of it. So that's what this looks like. Well, obviously, the 1 1/3, we are going to switch and write 4/3. Right, 4/3. That's what we're going to write. Can we simplify things? Yeah, this 3, look, and this 3 is gone. Now, on top, we have 2,222 times 4. We're going to get 8 over 5. And that's not that bad, right? 888 divided by 5. It's 1. 5, 38, which is going to give me 7. 35, 38 is going to give me 7 again. 35 and 38 is going to give me 7 again. 35, and then, oops, somebody's not doing their math correctly. 35, and then 30, and then I'm going to bring a 0 down, right? So I'm going to add a 0, which may have to add a decimal, and then the last number is going to be a 6. So 3/5 of that amount is going to be 1,777.6 pounds, and that's how much she's going to use to make this big pie that hopefully she'll share with a lot of people. Find 30% of 60. Well, 30% of 60. Now, you can just simply change that to a decimal. 30% is 0.3. We're going to multiply that by 60. So let's just do that on the side. 60 times 0.3, 0, 18, which is 18. And then we're going to get 0.15 times 50. And again, you can do 50 over here times 0.15. Right, 0, 25, and that's just a 50. And it's going to be two decimal places, so it's going to be 750 or 7.5. So 30% of 60 is 18. 15% of 50 is 7.5, and then you want to multiply that sum by 1/3. So if we add 28 plus 7.5, we get 25.5, and we're going to multiply that sum by 1/3. So instead of writing 25.5, I'm going to write 25 and a half, because I'm going to be multiplying that by a fraction, 1/3. 25 and a half is 51 over 2. Times a third. Can we simplify? Yeah, the 51 and 3 can be simplified. It's 3 divided by 3 is 1. 51 divided by 3 is 17. And then 17 over 2. And our final answer is just going to be 8.5, or 8.5. We have a taxi that charges a flat fee of $4.20 per ride plus an additional 80 cents per mile. The taxi ride costs $6.50. How many miles did the taxi drive? So go back to when we did slope, right? The equation of the line. If you think about it, let me put it as on the graph. You just hopped on the taxi, okay? And before you went anywhere, look, you have to pay $4.20. That's how cabs work. I forget what the rate is nowadays, but it can't be that far off from 20. So before you even went anywhere, you got to pay $4.20. And then so here at 0 miles, you're paying $4.20, and then 1 mile, 2 miles, 3 miles, 4 miles, and then right after 1 mile, you're going to pay the $4.20 plus 80 cents. 2 miles would be $4.20 plus 80 cents, another 80 cents, and so on. So this is what your line looks like. Right. So our equation here, what's our slope? Our equation is going to be y equals 0.80 x, representing the number of miles, plus that $4.20 flat fee that we pay just for being in the cab. So if you ended up paying $6.50, how many miles to travel? Well, without doing the equation of the line, you could have said, well, if I paid $650 for the total travel, let me subtract $420, which was the flat fee. So that means if I subtract, I get, so $230, right, is what he charged me. That was the distance that he charged me. That's how much he charged for the distance we traveled. So $230, and we can divide that by 80 cents, right? And we can, again, multiply both sides by 100. Instead of 0.80, let me just write 0.8. I don't know why I put 0.80. Right, 0.8. Multiply both sides by 10, which now gives me 8. And move the decimal 1 over, we get 23 over here. So 8 goes in 23 2 times, which is 16. 23 minus 16 is 7, so we can just say, and leave it without continuing, we can say that the distance traveled was 2 miles and 7/8 of the next mile. So that's the distance we traveled. Okay. And if you did it with the slope, then what you would have done is, here's the equation of my line, right? Y equals 0.80x plus 420. Now x is what you're trying to find, which represents the distance that you traveled. You know y is the total. Well, the total that you traveled was $6.50 equals 0.80 or 0.8x plus 420. Now, notice what you're going to do. We're going to be subtracting 420 from both sides, so it's exactly the same thing, right? So I'm subtracting minus 420 on this side, minus 420 on this side, right? So that goes away, and I'm left on this side with 2.30, and here I'm left with 0.8x, right? And I'm going to divide that by 0.8 and divide this by 0.8, and that's exactly what we got, right? 2 7/8. We'll probably get that as a decimal, but it's okay. All right, 3 teams played the stock market. They reached out to invest. They started out with $150,000. Okay, the winning team is the one with the most money at the end, of course. Team Red made 2/3 more money. Team Green made 60% more money, and Team Blue made a total of $280. So let me write that down. So Team Red, so they start with 150,000. And they earn 2/3 more. So we're going to multiply. Remember we talked about, we're going to multiply that by 1 and 2/3. So this is the red team. Team Green. Let me see if I have green. Same thing. 150,000. That's what they started with. And we're going to multiply that by 160%, right? Because it's 100 plus 60% on top. So that's the same thing as 1.6 as a decimal. And the blue team, you don't have to do anything because, oops, blue. And the blue team made 280,000. So who made the most amount of money? So let's go back to the red. Now, you could have multiplied 150,000 times 2/3, which could have been the easier way, and then add that amount to 150,000. Same thing. Or, like I said, doing this takes you straight to the answer. So 1 and 2/3, let's just rewrite that as 5/3. Okay. Can we simplify? Yes, 150,000 and 3 can be simplified. 3 divided by 3 is 1. 150,000 divided by 3 is 50,000. So 50,000 times 5 gives me 250,000. So that's how much the red team made. So they're not winning yet. And this guy, 150,000 times 1.6, right, because it's 60%. And again, if you want to just leave it as a decimal, you can. Or, hey, look, you can change 1.6 to 16/10. And then, I guess it's the same thing. We can simplify 1 0, and then you still have to multiply 15,000 times 16, which we'll do here. Right, there's some work here. So 1, 2, 3, 90. And then 1, 2, 3, 5, and 1. So they doesn't look like they won either. So they made 240,000. So blue team still in first place. So again, pick, right? So again, if you want to multiply the green team, we'll multiply 150,000 times 60%. Figure out what 60% is, and then add that to 150. That's completely fine as well. Okay. 12. Put a little star here. So you have 1/3 of a gallon. You don't have a full gallon. Okay. So imagine that's a whole gallon. Oops, that represents a whole gallon. And this is what you have right now, 1/3. It's when it what? Water, on the other hand, actually expands when it's frozen. So they're going to freeze this water, and the volume is going to increase by 9%. So suppose you have 1/3 of a gallon of water that gets frozen. What is the volume of the ice that you now have? So it's going to get a little bigger, right? So we're going to multiply 1/3 times, and again, you can multiply that by 0. So remember what 9% is 9 over 100 as a fraction, or it's 0.09 as a decimal, right? You can either use this one or this one. I think it's better to, change it to a fraction, right? Because 1/3 is 0.3 repeating, so you don't want to deal with that. So, but remember that if you want to know the final answer, yes, you can multiply. So if you multiply 1/3 times 9 over 100, find out what that is, and then you're going to add the product to 1/3 again to find your final answer. Or you can multiply this again. Remember what? So it's, instead of 9%, right? It's going to be 109%, which is whatever you had before plus the 9%. And 109% as a fraction is, well, as a decimal is 1.09, and then if you change that to a fraction, it becomes 109 over 100. Okay, so your final answer, and there's not much to do here, is this. Notice that this is a little bit more than 1/3, right? That's it. Let me actually do this the long way. So here's your 1/3 of a gallon, and you're going to multiply that by 9%, which is 9 over 100. Right, so if you multiply that by 9 over 100, this gets crossed over, and we get 3 over 100. Right, so that's how much you increased. Right, so now we got to take that and add it to the original amount. We have 1/3 of a gallon, so we're going to add this to, and we're going to add the part that got the increase, and then we're going to add these two. Well, we got to change our denominators, right? We have to find common denominators. The common denominator is 300, so this becomes 100, and this becomes 9, and you get the same exact answer, 109 over 300. So one way you do it in parts, you find the percent of increase or decrease, and either you add or subtract to the original, or the other one, you just get to the answer right off the bat. With one step. It's a matter of choice. Last question. So we have 3 people. Peter owns, so let me write Peter, Paul, and Mary. They own shares of a company. Peter owns 4,050 shares. Paul owns 2,510 shares, and Mary owns 4,200 shares. So the one thing we're missing, though, is we should add the total. Find the total. So if I add the total, this is 0, this is 6, this is a 7. So there were 10,760 shares. So the corporation, the company was broken up into 10,760, of which Peter owns this much, 4,000 and 50 out of a total of that. Paul owns 2,510 out of this, and Mary owns this. So obviously we can say that Mary, she owns a little bit more than everybody, Paul being the least. And that's a percentage, right? So if you actually took the time, and I'm going to cheat over here, okay, just for this part. 4,200 divided by 10,760. I apologize for this. So Mary owns, rounded, okay, 39% of the company. Paul owns, and now I guess cheat again, 10,760. He owns, again, rounded to the nearest hundredth, 23.33% of the company. And then Peter owns 37.64. So if you divide, right, 4,050 divided by 10,760, right, go through the division, you'll get that. So now if you add these percentages, you'll get very close to 100. And I say very close because I rounded. Okay, so if the company made a profit of $1.5 million, $1,500,000, Mary's going to take 39% of that money. Paul is going to take 23.33% of that money, and then Peter is going to take 27.64% of that money. So now, ignoring that, and I only did that to show you that that's something you could have done. You could have taken, right, the amount of shares that they each have, divided, find the percent equivalent, change it to a decimal, and then multiply. But I don't know if I want to do that. So had I not done this, I would say, here's what Peter owns. So Peter's sitting at the table, and he wants to know how much money he's going to take. Well, he owns 4,050 shares out of 10,760. All he has to do is multiply that by that. So I'm trying to figure out if there's a nicer way of doing this. No, I guess. Well, we can simplify this and this. We can keep simplifying. Well, I guess we're going to have to do this. So let's simplify this divided by 2. I'm going to get, let me just take this away. If I divide 1,076 by 2, I'm going to get, what's that? 538. I divide this boy by 2, so I get 2,025. I'm going to keep dividing this by 2. If I divide 538 by 2, 38 is 19, 250. This is going to be 269. I'm going to divide this 150,000 by 2. I'm going to get 75,000. And then that's a 9. This is 8. 8 plus 9, 17. That's not divisible by 3. Yeah, unfortunately, I'm going to have to do some work. So what I'm left over with, let me just clean this up, is 2,025 here, 269 here, and this is 75,000. So that's what I'm looking at. Let me erase this. Is there an easier way of doing this? I guess not. So either you divide these two and then multiply by 75,000, which is probably what I'm going to do. So 2,025 divided by 269, and again, we're going to have to round. So just go as far as to the hundredth, okay? 269, let's see, times 5 is 10, times 7, 42, 14, so that's going to be a 7. 7 and 6 is 63, go 6, 42, 48, carry 4, 14, 18 there. subtract, it's 2, 12 and 8 is 4, 9 and 8 is 1, so we have 142 left, right? I'm going to bring a decimal down. I'm going to add a decimal, bring a 0 down. Times, let's see, 269 is about 300, maybe 5? Let's try 5. 5 and 45, carry the 4, 34, carry 3, 5, 10, 12, 13. Okay, that worked. 10 and 5 is 5, 11 and 4 is 7. I'll bring another 0 down. And that's only 2. 2 and 9 is 18, carry 1 is 13, carry 1 is 5, so that 10 minus 8 is 2, 4 minus 3 is 1, and 7 minus 5 is 2. I'm going to bring one more 0 down. 2,120, because I want to round to the nearest hundred, so I need that third digit here before I decide if it's 752 or 753. 7 times, no, that's going to be 8, 48, no, 48, 16, carry 4, can it be an 8? Try an 8. 8 and 9 is 72, carry 7. 8 and 6 is 48, plus 7. 55, carry 5, 16. No, can't be. It has to be a 7. So we don't have to do the subtraction, but this rounds to 7.53. So 7.53, and we got to multiply that with, oh, I forgot the number. Was it 75,000? Right, when we had that before, and 75,000, I'm hoping 75,000 times 7.53, let's see, we get 0, 0, 0, 15, 22, 0, 0, 0, 25 goes to 37, and then we have 0, 0, 0, it's that 5 and 7 is 35, carry 3, 49, 52. 0, 0, 0, 5, 7, 14, 6, and 5. We have 2 decimal places. So he's going to take home $564,750. That's just for one person. My God. Okay, I understand. A lot of work. And when was the last time you divided fractions and divided divided decimals, multiplied decimals? So take a little walk memory lane. Okay, cool. So that's the answer for the first one. Now write it here. So Pete takes 564,750. So approximately, right? And then when you're done with this and you add all three totals, it should add up to 1.5 million. So let's do Paul to 10,760 times 1.5 million, or 1,500,000. That goes away. That goes away. I wonder if there's even a difference. 18. That's 538 again. This is going to be 2,500 divided by 2 is 1,250, 1,255. And that's what, 10, 13, we can't divide by 3, that's it now. No, that's about it. So, well, let's divide 1,255 divided by 538. So that's what we're doing. Well, let's see, 538 goes into this 2 times, which is 76, 1,076. 50 minus 6 is 9, 14 minus 7 is 7, then 1 minus 0 is 1. We're going to add a decimal, which allows me to add a 0. 5 500 into 1700 is about 3 times. Yeah, that works. 24, 2, 11, carry 1, 15, 16. Yep. So that's a 6. 8 minus 1 is 7. And then 7 minus 6 is 1. Bring another 0 down. That looks like another 3. What do we got? So another 3. So that's easy. 1, 6, 1, 4. We're going to have, I'm going to just continue over here. 6 left over. 5 minus 1 is 4. And 7 minus 6 is 1. And then if we add another 0 down, right, which would be over here, and 538 goes into 1,460. It can't be 3 because that's 1614, so it has to be 2. So I'm going to stop here. So I know this is approximately this part here. I'm going to highlight it. This part over here is about 2.33, which I'm going to now multiply by, what is that? 150,000. Right, so that's the last part of our problem. So 150,000 times 2.33, so that should be easy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 15, and 4. So repeat. 1, 2, 3, 4, 15, and 4. And then the last one, 1, 2, 3, 4, 10, and 3. Let's add this up. 2 decimal places. So the second person, he's going to take 300, and I'll write over here, $349,500. That's Paul. Okay. One more. Oh my God. Well, and then Mary, so again, we have to do the whole thing again, 4,200, 10,760. I mean, for Mary, you actually don't have to do it. So I'm going to stop here, right? So for Mary, you don't have to do it because we have 1,500,000. We know what Pete is going to take. Let me just circle. So we can subtract what Pete's going to take. Pete's going to take 564,750. So we can subtract that. Right, so that's going to, oh, we got a lot of borrowing here. So that becomes 0. That becomes 15, which is 14. That's going to be a 9. 10 can be a 9. 9 again. 9 again. All right, not 9 again. That's finally at 10. So this is a 0. That's a 5. That's a 2. That's a 5. That's a 3, and that's a 9. So once Pete takes his share, we are left with 935,250, and then we got to take away Paul. Paul is $349,500. That's how much he's going to take. So whatever left over here is what Mary makes. Oh, thank God. 0, 5. Let's do some borrowing. So this becomes 8. This becomes 12. This becomes 14, and this becomes 12. 12 and 5 is 7. 14 and 9 is 5. 12 and 4 is 8. And 8 minus 3 is 5. So Mary makes 585,750. There. Oh, sorry. Now I'm going to go the extra mile that you don't have to. Well, if you have time, let's just add those 3 and let's see how close I am. So if I add all 3, the amount that all 3 people take, I should get 1.5 million. So that's a 0. That's a 10. Carry 1. What is this? 5, 14, 19, 20. Right? Carry 2. 6 and 9. 4. What's that? Sorry. 6 and 5. 11 plus 9. 6 and 5 is 11 plus 9 is 20. Could carry 2. Let's see. 10 again. Carry 2 again. And 5, 10, 15. Oh, look at that. I was actually pretty good. I'm surprised. All right, so that's number 13. A pain, but nevertheless, that'll
just exercise, right? This is our topic right now. Operations, right? Adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing with all sorts of numbers. All right, that's it.